Hello and welcome to day 10 of the card making countdown, where I'm showing you how to make 10 different types of card with your Cricut over 10 days. It's the final day today and we're making easel cards. These are a really fun way to make a card that stands up a little bit differently to normal. This is a base template which is included in today's download. When your card comes out the envelope, it will just look like a card. You'll have whatever you want to put on here, but it pulls back and then goes into the little tab, and then you have an unusual, almost tinted, stand-up card that looks like an artist's easel, hence the name. So first in this video, I'll show you how to make a basic easel card like this that you can then decorate however you want. We'll then go one step further and I've created another design for you. This one has a pre-made butterfly and flower theme. Once again, it will come out the envelope, all nice and flat. Your message goes on the back here, and then it just pulls up to slot in there, and that holds it to make it freestanding. You can add a sentiment or a greeting or a name or a picture or whatever you like on here. I've just left mine blank because I wasn't quite sure who was going to be getting this card or what occasion it would be for. And then for part 3, I'll show you how you can design your own custom easel cards in Cricut Design Space. I've chosen a butterfly theme, so it folds nice and flat. You see we've got the shape of the butterfly on the side, and then it pulls back, goes in behind there to stand. And you don't have to do a butterfly, you can choose any image. I'll show you some tips for choosing a good image that will work well. So, what are you waiting for? Let's crack on at making our easel cards. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the card making countdown at craftwithsarah.com/cards24. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/cards24 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all the files from the card making countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. This is the basic square easel card template, which I've included for you as part of today's download. This is really simple, just to cut as is from Design Space, but of course you can add extra details in Design Space if you want to, such as images to go on the front, or you could add some text to the little bit that holds it in place, add some background patterns, whatever you want. I'd love to see your finished easel cards to see how you decorate them, so if you make one, please go ahead and post it in my Facebook group. I'll drop the link to that in the description of this video. To make it nice and simple, all we need to do is click on the design and ungroup it by pressing the ungroup button at the top of the layers panel. That separates out all the layers. You'll see then there's one more little group in there, and if you click the arrow next to it, there's one layer which looks like 2 horizontal lines. Under the operations menu, change that to a score line and then click away. And then click back to select that group. So you see in the layers panel, we've got those 2 layers selected. Press attach. Attach is what tells the Cricut to do the scoring on that bit of card. It moves it to the front, so we can go arrange, center back to move it back down to the bottom. And that's all I'm going to do to this. I'm going to cut it out now as is because I want you to see just how simple these cards are to put together, and then you can customize them with whatever details you want to add. Here are the pieces for my very basic little gatefold, all cut out and ready to put together. Put the side that has the biggest square facing towards you, and then this one is the one where it's got the score line down the middle. So one here and one here. For the one that's directly in the middle of the whole sheet, we're going to fold that upwards towards ourselves and fold our card in half. If you've got a brayer tool or something similar, go down to make it a really crisp fold. And then the next fold, we're also going to fold in towards ourselves, like that. And then they bend up to make almost like a tent shape. If I show you from the side, this is what we end up with. It makes that little triangle, and there's the front. Next, take your front piece. If you're adding any decorations to it, which I'm sure you would because you're not just going to want an empty square, then do your decorations first before sticking it on. It's just a little bit easier. But when it's finished, you can take your card, and then the side that's folded over towards you on that tent, this one here, I'm going to add glue or double-sided tape all along here, like this. And then glue on your piece of card, your front, so that it lines up along that bottom. And when you look at it from behind, you'll see it overlaps on half of it. That's so that when the card is folded to go in an envelope, it will go flat like that. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. Whilst that's drying, I'll stick my front little bit of the sentiment badge to the border. Again, yours will probably say something nice on it, but I'm just doing this as a blank. I haven't done that very centrally. Never mind. For sticking this onto the card, to make sure that there's enough to hold this in place, you'll need some foam squares. These are the ones I'm using, but any will do. If they're really small, you might need to double up and put a couple next to each other. If they're bigger than your little piece, then you might need to cut them smaller with scissors. I've got an open pack here, so I'll turn this upside down. And we want a good amount on here. I'm going to go for 3 right across the back in the middle. Then look at the piece of the card that this is going to be stuck to and put it kind of somewhere in the middle. You don't need to be exact, but try and get that lined up nice. And then when your card stood up, the depth of those foam squares will help hold the front of your card in place so it will stand up just like an artist's easel. So there's our very, very simple easel card done. And like I said, you can decorate this now however you like. But if you'd like a little bit of inspiration of one that's already been decorated, keep watching. This is the second easel card design which is included in today's download. And you can see this one is a little bit fancier. So this shows how you can use other shapes and images and pictures to make a really detailed and layered easel card. We need to do the same steps on this one that we did for the square one. So first click it and ungroup the layers. And then scroll down to the bottom until you can see the group with the base card and the horizontal lines. Click on those horizontal lines and change them to a score. And then select that group and attach. If you want, you can then send that back to the back. And then this one's ready to cut too because I have done everything for you. The only thing you might want to add is maybe some text onto the little thing here. I've left mine blank because I'm not quite sure who I'll be giving this to yet, so I can always cut this bit out again and customize it later, or use a stamp or some peel-off stickers to add a little sentiment there at another time. If you want, you could get the Cricut to draw something on there. What's quite nice is to go into phrases and then type out something and change the operation type to draw only, and then you'll get some lovely images that you can use with the Cricut pens. So maybe I could do just a simple happy birthday. Make it smaller so it fits. Select that layer and press Shift and choose the white square as well. Let's just check. Yep, there it is. And go align center to put the text exactly in the middle. And actually, I'm going to move it up a little just so it looks to the eye a bit more centralized. Select both of those again and press attach. That joins the writing onto the shape, so now it will be done on that shape. But like I said, I'm going to leave mine blank, so I'll just delete that one. If you like this easel card template but you're not sure on the little pictures in the middle, then you can delete them just by clicking each layer. Press delete on your keyboard. Actually, I'll keep that one. Just go through all of these and then you'll be left with this, which you could change the colours on, add something different in the middle, or you could even use a photograph and slice it into this circle shape. So you could have maybe a photo of your family or your pet, or if it's an anniversary card, you could have a photo from your wedding day, something like that in the middle. Or you could find a graphic, a picture, and put it in the middle, whatever you want to do. So this does have some customization options if you still want to make the fancy easel card, but without the flowers and butterflies in the middle. But I'm going to go ahead and just undo all of that to bring them back on. Then I'll cut it all out and we'll see how to stick it together. Here are all the pieces of my next easel card cut out and ready to be stuck together. I'll start by doing everything on what will be the front of the card, beginning with the pretty mandala. So the very base of it are these 3 pieces. This will be what sticks onto the front of that easel card, and then the next 2 layers will be glued on top. Whew, that was very narrow around these edges. I've got some glue on there. It helps if you've got a glue with a needle tip nib on it, like the Barely Art glue, or you can buy needle tip applicators online to put your regular glue into. So there is those. Then next we've got this section. I'm going to use some foam squares for the solid bit and then glue the rest. So for this one, I want to put a few around the edge and also some bits in the middle to make sure it's really sturdy for everything else that's got to sit on top. So those around the edge and then one in the middle. Then I can peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. Goes on like that, and then we can stick the next bits on. This one looks even thinner, so I might just do this bit. If you only glue the middle bit like this, it does mean the edge will become quite fragile because it won't be glued down, so it might tear if someone's a little bit rough with it. So maybe a couple of little dabs of glue if you can do it. But it is super thin, so if you can't, it's okay. Next up is yellow, which I'll glue on. And then this one, which again will be glued. Next, we're moving on to the bits in the middle. We've got the blue for the sky, another glue layer, and then the grass on top of that, which will also be glued. This goes in the middle, so you've got a little bit of that pink around the edge, and then the grass on top. It doesn't matter which direction you put it on because it's all symmetrical. Just goes along that bottom, lines up with the blue. And then we've got our butterfly and the flowers. I'm going to add some foam squares to these to give it a little bit more dimension. I'll switch over to some smaller foam squares and I'm going to put them directly onto here where the 3 stems are. Okay, and then put the 3 flowers on. It doesn't really matter which way round they go, and they're all the same size. I'm aiming for the one with the little point in the base there as the bottom, but it looks fine most ways. Then on top of there, a dab of glue in the middle. And then the next layer, which are these sort of mid-pink pieces. I've definitely just stuck that bit on upside down. There. And then one more bit in the middle. If you can hear any little random noises in the background, that's my dog who is pacing the floor at the moment, and it's laminate floor, so it's quite noisy. He wants to go up to bed. He's decided it's bedtime. It's not. He's got at least an hour to wait, which he's not happy about. There we go. And then the butterfly, I think I'll glue the bits on first. I think that'll be easier. So the yellow goes at the bottom, which will stick onto the front of the card with foam squares. But just a little bit of glue on here. And put that on. And then the next one for that last bit of detail. He'll line up nicely. I haven't popped all the little circles out, which I probably should have done first, but never mind. And then foam square on the back and position it wherever you want it to go. I'm going to hang it off the side a little bit, like that. And that's the front done. Then we can fold up the card, and this works the same way as the last one. So I'm going to fold it up towards me along the very middle, and it will fold in half like that, go along the line, and then the next one, which is halfway down again, fold towards you. And I'm trying to find out which side it is. Because I've used textured card, it's really hard to see the scoreline. There it is. And there we go. So that will fold over to make our tent shape. And glue the front arm. This one's a lot heavier, so we need a bit more glue. Remember, only go up to that score line. And then line that on. I'm going to press it down because it's quite heavy. It's going to need that glue to dry for a moment, but that's okay. Whilst that's going, let's stick these 2 pieces together. There. And let's put the pin back in my glue. This can have my 3 foam squares again. There. Then I'll open this up. Put my side on. And it holds the card up. I realise I just kind of did that off screen. Sorry about that. It holds the card up really, really beautifully. Here it is. And then it folds down like this with postage. Put your message on the back. And just goes back up. Very, very pretty. And a gorgeous way to use your easel card. So now, we've made the square template here, and we've made the butterfly and flowers one. How about designing your own? Now that we've made the 2 easel cards that come with today's download, let's go one step further and make a custom one using images from Cricut Access. You could also upload SVGs if you prefer. So I'll go into images and I'm going to be very unoriginal and do another butterfly theme. And actually I'm going to type layered butterfly because I want one with a couple of different layers on it. There are some lovely images in here. Of course, it doesn't have to be a butterfly, choose whatever you want. I just really like making butterfly and flower cards, which is why they have featured quite heavily in this countdown. You want to look for an image where it's got a nice flat base. It doesn't have to be a straight solid line along the bottom. These ones aren't because we can fill in this gap, but just something where it does line up nicely on both sides. So these would all be good ones to choose. Whereas this wouldn't be because it doesn't have that flat bottom to it. If it's a nice simple kind of outline shape, that's good too. I think I will choose this one. If you want to follow along and use the same one, that's the image code. So you can type that into the search in Design Space, including the hashtag, and then it should come up for you. Okay, let's add this to my canvas. Here it is, and it's 3 separate layers. The first thing I'll do is to fill in this gap along the bottom on that bottom layer so that it will have something solid for me to connect when I make the base card. If you're doing something that's maybe circular and doesn't have something to fill in, you might want to slice off a little bit on the bottom to make it flat instead. You can look back to the video we did for the gift card making countdown video where I showed how to do that when we turned the snowman outline into the greetings card shape. But for this one, let's go into shapes and choose a square. And then I'll drag it the full width over there and then select both of those and go align bottom to make sure that the rectangle is lining up with the bottom of the butterfly. Click the butterfly and ungroup it, then choose the bottom layer and that square, and then go combine, weld to join them into one. If we put it back to the bottom, this is now what we've got. If you wanted to, you could fill in this gap using the contour tool and fill it in. Or you can leave it open. I think I'll do mine filled in. Okay, so now let's group everything and make it a nice size. And we'll do it based on the height, and I'll go for 8 inches tall. Your final card won't necessarily be that big, but by choosing a nice number that easily divides by 4 and 2, it means it'll be easy to place the score lines in a moment. I'll move that over to one side and then click on the very bottom layer and duplicate it. Now at this point we could make our entire base shape of the card the exact outline of the butterfly, which means you'd have this one down here. You could duplicate it and flip it and use this to make your base card, but that means that when it's folded in half and it's stood up, you're only going to see this front half of the bit along the bottom, which is a bit of a weird shape. So instead, I'm going to add a square down there instead. So let's undo this to put it back to what it was. And to make sure that if I resize this by mistake or on purpose in the next couple of steps that this all stays the same size, let's just select both of those and go align center to put one on top of the other. You can't see the top bit there, but it is still there, and group it. Okay, I'm going to go into shapes and choose a square, and this is 8 inches tall, so I'll make this also 8 inches tall and just overlap it slightly. First I need to flip this, so flip vertical so it's upside down. Don't worry, it'll be the right way around again once we make the card. You can change it to a guide if you want to. Just make sure you've got a good overlap there because that's how we're going to score the card. There we go. That's probably a little wide. Let's get in a bit more. Select both of those and go align center horizontally just to make sure they are even on both sides. Then I'm going to ungroup that base one oops, and just select that and the square and go combine weld to join them into one. Because we overlapped it a bit, this is now not exactly 16 inches again. So I'm going to make sure I've got everything selected, which includes my front of the card, all the different layers of the butterfly, and just change it back to 16 inches. I just want a nice number to work with on this bit, a nice even number. Okay, now I can add my score line to the middle. That wasn't a score line, that was a square. Rotate it 90 degrees. And then that'll go along here. So drag it, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit bigger. And then I will drag both of those. So I've got my pink bit and the score line, and go align center to put it exactly in the middle. I'm not sure why that hasn't actually completely lined it up along the top of the thing, but that doesn't matter, that's okay. We can, oh, it'll be because I changed the size of the square and I probably still had the proportions locked, but it's okay, it's still going to work. So I need it to be along the top of that square, which that now is, and then we need to put one halfway along here. So we'll go and choose a square and then make this that exact height. The width doesn't matter. Make it another colour so you can see. And then we'll go into shapes and choose a score line. Rotate it 90 degrees. And make it so it's definitely going to fit over the whole of your card. And then we'll select the yellow rectangle and that score line and go align center. Then make sure it's still lining up with the top and bottom of your card. You might find when you align it, it moves it. Just put it back into place and then you can delete that, and you know that that score line is halfway between. It looks like it isn't, but that's just a trick of the eye because this gap is throwing it off. So it looks like there's more space here than here, but it isn't. All right, and we can select those three and attach the score lines. And then I'll send that to the back. This I will flip again. So that will be on there when it's all made. It'll go down to about there. Next, we need to add the little bit to hold it in place. So let's go shapes and I'll do an oval. It doesn't really matter how big you make it, but it needs to be a good enough size that that's going to be able to sit in it and it to be strong enough to hold it in place. So I think that's probably nice. And then I'll be a white so I can add my sentiment on. I'll give it an offset. Make another one in that darker pink. So now it's two, one to stick on top of the other. And then that's it. Nice and simple. You can add whatever you want to make it more detailed, but that is perfect for now. So I'm going to go ahead and save. Actually, I need to resize it. I will just save it. At the moment, it's going to be 16 inches tall, which obviously I cannot cut from my cardstock. Okay, how's the best way to do this? I'll drag that over there. And then let's select everything and go align center. Now I know it's all lined up. I want my card to be 5 inches, so the height needs to be 10 in total. This way everything changes in proportion. So now that's a little bit taller. Oh, I see. It's because I didn't take the overlap into account. But I think that's actually fine because this is going to poke out the top anyway. So I'm going to leave it, even though it says that's a little bit taller than 5. Although then it won't fit in a 5x5 envelope. This is where I get confused by maths. All right, let's try a different way of resizing. Let's make that a guide. Move it down a bit. And resize that front butterfly so that it is fitting inside. It's going to be a bit wider than 5 inches, but that's okay. I do have envelope templates, which I'll drop the link to in the description of this video. They're free, and that tutorial shows you how you can size them to fit any card. So what you can do is make this in Design Space, then bring in the envelopes and resize the envelopes to fit the card. So there, if I want my outsides to be fitting within the 5, I can make that exactly 5. My height will be a bit smaller, but now that'll go in a 5x5 envelope. Okay. So yeah, that's a bit long-winded for how to resize it. But now that is going to fit nicely, so we're all good. Right, save again. I'm going to cut this out and then we'll see if it goes together. I'm hopeful it will, but let's give it a try. Here are my pieces cut out, and I've already glued my butterfly. I changed the colours up to do yellows instead of pinks, and I've glued these pieces together. I wasn't entirely sure this was going to work out, but it has, so this is good. I've already folded my card to make that tent shape. So you've got a square here, and then the bit here lines up perfectly with our base butterfly. So it all worked out in the end. I could have re-recorded the Design Space video once I'd really worked it out and cut out all the bits where I was, slightly messing up or developing the card, shall we say. But I thought it'd be helpful to leave in so you can kind of see a bit more of the thought process that goes behind the design. But I'd love to know what you think about that. Do you prefer videos where I leave in my oops moments? Or do you prefer it when everything is completely polished and goes right on the first go so that it's easier to follow along with? Let me know in the comments which ones you prefer. There's my butterfly. And I should have glued this bit on first. That's what I get for going off on a tangent and not paying attention to what I was doing. And I was actually going to foam square this instead of gluing it, but now I've added the glue. Oh dear. It's still going to look lovely, even without the foam. It's a nice little border of yellow all the way around. Yeah, and then let's add this on with the foam squares. Put that about halfway. That's not very straight. There we go. And then, because we made that nice solid base, it will hold it in place. And then when it comes out the envelope, because we've shaped all of this side and here, it's perfectly sized to that butterfly. And just pull out, slot in, and done. So I hope you've enjoyed making these Uzu cards with me for the final day of the card making countdown. I'd love to know your favourite card from the whole countdown over the past 10 days. Which project did you enjoy the most? And if you've given any of them a try, which ones have you had the most fun with? Please drop the comments and let me know. I'll be back very soon with some more Cricut videos, but in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the card making countdown. Bye!